Good morning and welcome to our midweek edition of A View from the House. My name is Mkokeli Tanda. Today, all eyes are on the Police Portfolio Committee. This committee is hosting a one-day detective dialogue. It follows an announcement by the Minister of Police earlier this year that 2012 will be the year of the detective. Experts from state departments, including SAPS as well as experts from the private sector, will assist the committee in addressing challenges that face detectives in this country. Among topics to be discussed are the role of detectives in the fight against crime and detective training and career development. Joining us now is the acting chairperson of the Police Portfolio Committee, Annelize van Wyk. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, thank you very much.
The detective dialogue, why this dialogue and why call it a dialogue and not a workshop instead?
I think the important thing is that we want it to be a dialogue. We don't want somebody to speak to the other group. It must be a two-way discussion. We must hear what is said, we must participate in what is said, and we must jointly come to a roadmap that we can show us the way to take the detectives into the next decade as a professional detective service.
At the time when the Minister of Police declared 2012 the year of the detective, what made it necessary? Why did he do that?
I think if you look at the past few years, one would realize that the SAPS numbers have increased dramatically. We're standing currently at more or less 186,000 police officers. Now, the point is that in that time, we have neglected the well-being of detectives. And the truth of the matter is that detectives didn't grow according to the numbers as the police service itself grew. And what was necessary is to highlight and to bring to the attention also of SAPS management, the detective, but also to focus government's efforts towards the detective so that we can all have a focus on the resources, on the training, etc., and see how we can take it forward.
Today's dialogue, who will be attending apart from committee members?
There will be members from provincial legislatures that will also be attending, the members of the NCOP, there's MECs that are attending, SAPS are attending in big numbers. Then we have invited NGOs, we have invited people from within the academic sphere of insecurity studies. ISS would be there. We have people from SABC. So there's quite a variety of people that will be there and that will form the speakers. And I think the important part is that speakers will speak for 15 minutes. We will have a sub-speaker and then we will have a specialist from the outside. And then we will go into plenary for 45 minutes on that topic and then we will move over to the next speaker.
Your statement says the dialogue will be looking at challenges facing detectives and how to assist detectives in doing their job. What are the major challenges facing this section?
I think major challenges is still the question of numbers. This year, the South African Police Management indicated to the committee that ideally they would like to see that we have 26,000 detectives. Now, the fact of the matter is we don't know how they arrive at the 26,000, and I'm pretty sure we will discuss that today as well. But currently, we only have 20,000. So we need to grow the detective numbers to 26,000, which means currently, as we sit here, we already have a situation where many of the 20,000 are not fully trained. So training is definitely an issue. Management of detectives is an issue. Modernization of the way that detectives do their work. Those are some of the challenges. Career pathing. We've lost so many detectives to the uniform branch because your career movement is so much better when you're a uniform wearing member than when you are a detective. So we need to look at career pathing also. Is it possible to put another career pathing there for detectives that will allow them to grow but not move out of the detective services as such?
If you were to rate our detectives, how will you rate them? Are they in a bad state at the moment?
I will not say that they're in a bad state. If they were in a bad state, our correctional services facilities will not have been as overflown as it is, but that there are room for improvement is definitely so. And that's also why we want to make sure that SAPS start, when they report to the committee, to report in a certain manner so that we can track, for instance, are we making progress in terms of conviction rate? Is there an improvement? And not only in the serious and violent crimes. You know, many South Africans are the victims of housebreakings. To many, that is a very dramatic experience because it's in their personal space. And those are some of the things that we need to address. How do we get better conviction rate also when we talk about crimes like housebreaking, not only focus on the murders, etc.
But Annelize, there are definitely also some weaknesses. What would you say is the weakest link?
I would say the weakest link, most probably, is the fact that they can be managed better. One of the other weakest links that I would say that exists there is the question of training. It is, and recruitment. You have people who not necessarily want to be detectives. Now, you can't force somebody to be a detective. Detective is somebody that wants to do that job. So we need to look at recruitment and we need to look at training.
One often hears how crime scenes are spoiled by unprofessional police work and lack of forensic experts in our laboratories. Will aspects like these be discussed in today's dialogue?
Definitely. One of our last topics, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on the program today is exactly that, the use of forensic science in the detective work. And we've got General Shazi from this Forensic Science Laboratory, as well as Dr. Klatsko, who is going to be the external expert who's going to speak on this. They might differ completely from one another, so it will make for a good group discussion. But yes, we are discussing that. I think the important thing, though, to remember is that the detective is not always the first person on the crime scene. So when you talk about crime scene and the preservation of crime scenes, it means that we need to go back to our police officer, who is the first on the scene, to make sure that they don't also spoil the crime scene.
Now that you have mentioned forensic, there has been an outcry from some political parties that this country does not have a large DNA database, which could help in speeding up investigations and improving the fight against crime. What's your view on this?
We are waiting for the forensic science, the DNA legislation. The legislation was before the committee in 2009 as an ad hoc committee before the elections. Then the elections arrived. Then after the elections, the bill was then referred to the Portfolio Committee on Police. During that time, there were serious problems with the DNA part of it. Human rights issues as well, in terms of how they wanted to populate the database. Innocent people together with convicted people on the same database. There were issues around it. So we split the bill at that stage to deal with fingerprints, and we're now waiting for the rest of the bill, the DNA bill, that must come to us. It should have been with us in September already. Unfortunately, through my inquiries, it seems that they are waiting for the next cabinet meeting where it will be tabled to cabinet, and then it would come through to the committee.
Is it still likely to happen this year?
Well, I hope so. I honestly hope so. I'm putting pressure on the officials who are responsible for the drafting from my side. I'm doing as much as possible, putting pressure on them that we get the bill. It is an important piece of legislation, but I think we must also stress things does not work like it's simply being portrayed in CSI programs. It is just another tool in your investigations. It won't be the golden bullet that would make an end to crime.
Finally and briefly, Annelize, a portfolio committee's first responsibility is to do oversight over the police department. Isn't it a bit odd that you now trying to assist the police department?
No, I think if you just do oversight without taking a responsibility in terms of making sure that there are changes, then you are failing in your oversight. What does it help to have a list of criticisms, but you do not have a list of suggestions? Committees also make recommendations, and recommendations, once they're adopted by Parliament, becomes instructions.
In tomorrow's View program, we will reflect on some of the contributions at today's dialogue. Good luck, Annelize, with your efforts at today's dialogue.
Thank you very much.
And when we return, we hear what really happened in the school textbook saga. Stay with us.